Hey guys, so here's second part of my John Muir lesson. This is nature journaling. Um, just going to give you a quick, simple lesson. It can be really complex or really easy. You can do this in a small area. You can literally do it on a patio if there's a few plants or anything around, or just in your yard, or if you're on a walk at a park, hiking around. It's just a great way to really stop, take a moment, and embrace what you're seeing and what's surrounding you in nature. So I usually grab a bag. This is my bag that I can fit all the stuff I need in here for this. So to start nature journaling, you'll need a few things. So I made a journal. I literally, this is some recycled paper I used from something else. And then I just took some computer paper and folded it, stapled it on the edge. You can make it simple, you can make it fancy. It could be an already made journal, just something where with blank pages you can write in. That's our start. So you need one of these, something. It could just be a piece of paper. It really doesn't have to be anything fancy, but this is kind of nice. It keeps it all in one spot. I usually bring some writing utensils. So included in my writing utensils, a couple pencils at least, just in case one breaks. I like to bring a pair of scissors in case I find a cool plant and I want to take a clipping to look at it closer. A little magnifying glass is awesome if you have one. I just happened to find this the other day when I was cleaning out a closet, so there you go. And colored pencils, markers, anything that you can use to color to add that extra dimension. That's awesome. I like to put it in a little pouch that's easy to take with me. I can zip it up, throw it in my bag, good to go. I like to have a little jar. This one's glass. It's probably better to have plastic with a lid that I can use if I see an insect that I want to check out a little closer. So I can, or if I'm near a creek, which I have one just behind me. There's a little creek on our property. Sometimes I'll just scoop up water and see if I can find any little organisms that are living in the water, or look at a bug. So you can scoop it safely, put the lid on, check it out, use your magnifying glass if you need to look at it closer. And once and you can make your drawings. After you're done, of course, we really want to be respectful of nature. We would put it back and let it go. Another thing that is kind of fun to have if you have the time to do it is you don't need this book, but I'm using a board book. It just tends to be, the pages are nice and stiff. This is the old, you probably used when you were little kids. I happen to have a few still laying around. And so you can use these as a flower press. And so what I do is I take this is just parchment paper, but it doesn't have to be parchment paper. It could be basically any type of paper. I just cut a few pieces out and stick them in my book. And then if I find a flower, so for example, I have a piece of lavender right here. So let's say I wanted to preserve this, I could stick it in the book, in the page, fold it over, close the book. A rubber band or something would be great to wrap it to hold it closed, and then I can stick it back. I always want to stick it back in a way that it won't open up in my bag, and that way I have pressed flowers I can add to my journal. These are giant. These wouldn't be the ones I'd take around with me. These are my nighttime stargazing binoculars, but if you have a small pair of binoculars that you can take with you, that would be awesome too. To start journaling, what you do, you get your book. You open up to your first page. I did a sample already. I start with my pencil. I happen to know what the first specimen was. It was a California poppy. So I wrote the name of what it was, and in the top corner, this is the how you start. You always want to put the date. So this was on April 13th, 2020. I just wrote my yard because that's where I was. But you can be more specific. And I wrote the time of day, so it was at 2:23 p.m. And then over here I draw a really small, just a little idea of what the weather was like. That day it was sunny with clouds. So I put a little cloud, and it's kind of like a little weather report. It tells me what's going on. On my page, here's what I do. So I drew a picture. I happened to have one. Actually, the goats chewed one off, and I was kind of mad because I didn't want them to eat my poppies. But I was laying on the ground, so I decided I would just go ahead and journal that. So I did the best I could to draw. I looked at the shape of the petals. I noticed there were 4. I looked inside and looking at the stamen and the pistil and all that good stuff. And then I decided to do a pop out to show like a magnifying glass of what that really looks like. So that's a good nature journaling technique, is to pop out and do a magnifying. I noticed, and so here's what's different about journaling versus just drawing. I noticed something that I didn't notice before. When I was holding the stem in my fingers, I noticed that it had like a shape. It wasn't just a round stalk. And it basically had about 6 sides. So the stem is hexagonal in shape, has 6 sides, 6 edges. So for me, I thought that was really cool. And then I also kind of never noticed before this little it was like purplish, and then it had this little, it kind of hangs down. It looks like an upside down little boat, sort of. And so I made sure and draw as much as I could, as many details as I possibly could. I see poppies all the time and they're beautiful and I walk by them, but I hadn't really looked at them like that before. On the second page, I decided to also write a wondering. I basically was kind of saying the poppies on the poppies next door to me, they have a huge hill. It's on the hillside and it's facing the sun directly, and it's covered in poppies. I mean, hundreds, probably thousands of poppies. And I was just wondering why they don't grow so well in my yard. So, and I was wondering if it was because my yard is flatter and it's more shady. Maybe the water doesn't drain as well. So I just kind of wrote my thoughts. That's a cool thing about journaling, is you can just write your ideas. I drew the leaf. I drew what the pod looked like. Here's where the seeds come from. I planted some poppies, so I knew what a seed looked like. And it's just basically looks like a little round dot. So I wrote actual size of the seed. I just give as much detail as I possibly can. If I notice something different, I would note that later, and I can always go back and add things to my page. I could notate the time. For example, yesterday I went out and it was cloudy and cold, and I was going to take a picture of the poppies, and they were all closed up. The weather was different. So the weather does make a difference, and so that's why any notation you can make about what it is, if it's shady, if it's cloudy, or if it's raining, that all makes a big difference. Okay, so that's an example of a page. What you're gonna do is you take your journal and your stuff, all your things that you need in your bag, and I just go and I find what I call a sit spot. Whoops, I should go back where you can see me. All right. So after you have all of your stuff back in your bag and you are ready to go, maybe bring a little water with you if you might be out there a while. Make sure you have all of your supplies. You're gonna head on out and find that sit spot. So the sit spot is a place where you could sit and really observe the things around you. And a lot of times, if I sit in one spot, I find a lot of surprises, a lot of animals and bugs. Grasshoppers right now are really cool. Like, I noticed something, and I tried to take a video of it, but I couldn't get it. They're black on the back. They're kind of a brownish black, but when they fly, shows like this super bright yellowish orange color. It's really cool. I would have never noticed had I not been sitting and really just watching them hop and the sound that they make. So I'll walk around my property and show you a few things that I've seen today, just a few pictures, and good luck. Nature journaling is a lot of fun, and it's nice sometimes to sit and just soak it all in.